Good morning, everyone. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes.
This is not too loud? No? Okay. So it's good to be in this place. You know, before we did our part to pray to God, to sing a song and worship to the Lord, now it's time to sit down and relax. You don't have to fasten your seat belt. And lunch will be served in about half an hour. Well, it's not a plane. So welcome everyone. It's such a blessing to be in this place, house of God. For me personally and also for our family, you know, Sunday morning is a day where we're all looking forward to. We're all looking forward to that alarm clock to ring, to wake us up, to remind us that, hey, this is Sunday, it's time to go to church. I know church doesn't have to be on Sunday, you know, but, you know, it's good to allocate a day and the whole world agree that Sunday is the best time because usually there's no work, you know, on Sunday. So let's come together in this house of the Lord and not just to attend a service, but to encounter the living God. He is our Lord. He's our Savior. He knows us better than everybody else on the earth. Before we read, we hear Michael reading a Bible reading from which one? Psalm 139, which is what we're going to learn a little bit today. It talks a lot about God knows about us. That God knows us better than anybody else. That God knows us better than our parents. That God knows us better than our closest friends. It might be shock to some people, but He also knows us better than our wife or our husband. He sees our heart. He chooses to love us unconditionally. So, at the end of the service today, we also gonna take part of Holy Communion, something that Jesus Himself instructed us to do in remembrance of Him. So let's prepare our heart, our spirit to come and enjoy God's blessing to us through this Holy Communion. And for those who are joining through Zoom or online at home, you can prepare a piece of bread and a cup of wine, a small cup only. I know we can't see you, but just don't get a bottle of wine and because, you know, pretending like you are with a glass of Chardonnay or something. I don't drink those kind of things, but anyway. Just a small cup, not half a liter of cup. So let us open again our Bible from Psalm 139. So today I want us to have a read once again, for all of us, from the beginning until the end. Although our focus is going to be just the last two verses, which is verse 23 and 24. But it's good to read it together, not just to hear, because when you read out loud, when you read it in your heart, it's sort of like get into your brain, into your core memory, I hope. So, today I'm going to read from, there's many translations of the Bible, but I'm going to read from NIV, because for me it's easy to understand and it's also widely used. So you can do a Google search, Psalm 139, verse 1 in NIV. Usually in the church, you're not allowed to use your phone and keep it silent, but this time you can Google. All right, I'm going to read it. It's from David, a psalm. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my laying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book, before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you. If only you, God, will slay the wicked. Away from me, you who are bloodthirsty. They speak of you with evil intent. Your adversaries misuse your name. Do I not hate those who hate you, Lord, and abhor those who are in rebellion against you? I have nothing but hatred for them. I count them my enemies. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. This is a wonderful psalm. It's a very beautiful psalm that started with God, how God loves us, how God remembers us. This is not just some poetic type of writing, even though psalm can also be categorized as a book of wisdom, and it's full of song, full of poet. And from the beginning of the title, all theologians agree that this part of the psalm was written by no one other than King David. King David wrote about 73 out of 150 psalms recorded in the book of Psalms. And for me, the part that we just read is an absolute banger. That's what my kids talk about it at home. They're always about this being banger, about that being banger. I was thinking, who's getting banged? Who, like what's something broken or something? I heard a bang. But these verses spoke to me deeply. And these verses, if you read it thoroughly as you follow when I was reading it, it doesn't only apply for those who doesn't know who God is. It doesn't only apply to those who thinking what God is doing. How come God is not doing something out of this evilness on earth? But it also speaks to those who knows God, like most of us, like King David. King David, in New Testament, Acts 13, verse 22, it says this, and this is quite remarkable. Why is it quite remarkable? Because God gave his testimony. You know, we read a lot about people like us, like human, giving a testimony. But in Acts 13, 22, if I may read it to you guys, it says here, after removing Saul, he made David their king. God testified about him. I have found David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. He will do everything I want him to do. Let's think about that. God is giving testimony about someone, and that someone is David. You know, when you buying a product lately, right? Usually you see the description of the product, and then what would you read after that? Review, right? Like me, last time I was looking about someone trying to sell a shampoo on my feed I wonder why some of you guys are laughing. This is not funny. It is quite funny. So I read this product shampoo that can give not only a healthy glow to your hair, but also a healthy grow. So be careful of what you read or what you use your phone for. Your phone now is full of AI, right? So he knows what you want. He knows what you look like. First commercial about shampoo. Next time, out of the sudden, it talks about a weight losing powder in a tube. It's so funny. I did not search for it, but it just came out. I never took a selfie, but it still know what I need. So after I was reading about the product, of course, and then I look at the review and testimony. I said, wow, everyone said it works good. So some reviews or testimony are rubbish, of course, because sometimes they were paid review or paid testimony. But we're talking about God who testify about someone. And what touched me is that God testify about someone that also happened to sin. Not only a sin, but a sin that produced murder, produced some affair, and produced a death. So a sin that quite bad from our point of view. But yet God still testify about David as being a man after his own heart. Sometimes we, as a human, we tend to remember about other people's drama or other people's negative thing that they've done to yourself. We can do a million goodness, but then you fall into a sin, and then that's it, you're gone. I remember someone said to me, God is a forgiving God. He knows our past. He's God. How can he forget about our past? He knows our past, but he chooses to love us, just like he loves David. He loves David because he will do everything that God wants him to do. He loves David because David put his heart, replace his heart or fill his heart with God's heart. David aligned his heart with God. That's why God said, giving testimony to all of us about David. In Jeremiah 17 verse 9, it's a reminder that human heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Just like the verse what we read before, that humans' heart are wicked. In Proverbs 28:26, it also written that he who trusts in his own heart is a fool. So today I want us to focus on verse 23 and 24. This is a very daring prayer that David pray and prays about. He says that, search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me and lead me in the way everlasting. There are three things that I want us to learn about today, about how we should pray or how should we build our life upon. We need to learn from David, how David lived a life that's to follow God's heart. Not only to follow his gut feeling, but to follow God's heart. Because once again, the heart is deceitful, human heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. The first things that I want us to have a look at, to pay attention to, is David pray and ask for God to search him and to know his heart. When we're reading it, we might be thinking that, so do we have to put a request to God to search us? Do we have to put a request to God to know us? The answer will be no. Because as David says at the beginning of the verse, it clearly says in English grammar, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. In other words, that God is the initiator of the searching party, right? Because we are all full of sin. We are all full of heart that's full of deceit. We are just like a lost soul. And for those who are lost, need to be found. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called lost, right? If we are not lost, then you don't need to have a search party. But because we are all lost, we need to be searched. And God initiate the searching of our soul. That's why David in verse 1, he says, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. God came to earth. Jesus Christ came to the earth. He died for our sin. He opened the gate of heaven to us. God's done his part. But sometimes we tend to be like what we call a lazy human being, right? Because we are all lazy, correct? Would you rather to come here at 10:30 or sleep at home? Trick question. Not tricky question. Of course, you like to sleep in. You might put a request to our church email later, said, hello, pastor, could you please change your time, service time to 3:30 or something so I can sleep in? You know, humans tend to be lazy. We like, if you want to call, being called a prince or princess, right? We like to be driven to, we like to be attended to, we like to be fed, we like to be encouraged. But this is David telling us that we need to do our part as well. That's why David prayed to God. God, come and search me. Come and know my heart. It doesn't mean that David doesn't understand that God never did it. Because in verse 2 or 3 or 4, it clearly says that you know where I sit. You know when I stand. You know what my thoughts are. You know when I'm going out. You know who I'm going out with. Who know who when I went to bed. You know what word I'm going to say before I even say it. Because God knows us inside out. You might think that God is a stalker. He knows where I am. He knows what I've done. He knows what I've done at night or in the day, in the morning. A stalker is someone that wants to know and doesn't know and wants to know incorrectly. But God already knows us. So it doesn't qualify him as a stalker. That qualify him as God who knows everything and our heart and what I need. David says that he is our creator. He put us together in our mother's womb. You know, our human body is mind-blowing. I like science. I like engineering stuff. I don't mind a little bit of physics. Maybe a little bit of chemistry. I don't like business and all of this stuff. I don't mind accounting. So our body is a mind-blowing to science. A few days ago, yesterday, I read this article about our brain. Our brain, it's so you cannot compare it with any other things on earth. No wonder when God created us, on what day God created us? Day 6, right? God says when He created us, He said, very good, From day 1 to day 5, at the end of his creations, God simply says, it's good. Day 6, he created us. He said, very good. So from 1 thumbs up to 2 thumbs up. Our human brain it's incredible. You know, there is an article posted by Scientific American Journal, Scientific American Journal, because we like to read anything, everything about American, right? Scientific American. It says that a human brain was reported to have the equivalent of 2.5 petabytes of memory capacity. Those who are in the computer science, do you know how many petabytes are or is? What is it? How many is petabytes? Petabytes? Of course I know because I cheated. 1 petabyte is 1 followed by 15 zeros. That's human memory capacity. You know what's the most advanced computer at the moment? The most powerful single supercomputer right now was introduced in 2024, and it's called El Capitan supercomputer. It's the single world's fastest supercomputer. It is a Hewlett-Packard Enterprise El Capitan. You know the capacity of this computer? It's 5.4 petabytes of memory. More than our human brain, definitely. Human brain was about 2 to 2.5. My one maybe just like a floppy disk. 5.4 petabytes of memory. It cost $600 million to build. It is located in California. Where else? And it occupies a space as big as a basketball court, 700 square meters. It needs 5 to 9 million gallons of water every day to help keep it cool. And it needs about 30 megawatts of electricity, which is, I did my math, which is about as much as a city of Geelong power consumption. I have to say that computer science needs to catch up with God's design. Our brain fits inside this small skull and runs on a bowl of rice and a few glasses of water. God designed it's unmatched, and David knows it. From inside the womb, you already created us. He did not create us just out of nothing. He created us for a purpose. That's why David prayed to the Lord to come to him and search and know his heart, to know his life, to know his heart. The other word that we need to understand from this reading is the word know. David's prayer is not simply to God knows him as a name, because we all know someone, right? We know who Jokowi is. If we've been asked, do you know Jokowi? Yes, I know. But, is that what know means? The word know in the original word in Hebrew is the word is used, it's called yauda, which means to teach and to instruct. So basically, David prayed to God, not only to search him, to find him, but to teach him, to instruct his heart, to teach his heart, to instruct his heart. Because what comes out of our heart is the things that we do, the things that we put in action, the things that we plan. that come out from our heart. From our heart, our mind. That's what David prayed for. God, come and search and teach my heart. God doesn't only want to have God's heart, but he wants God's heart to instruct his life. It's no use for us just to know where the Bible is located. It's no use just to know what John 3:16 is about. It's no good that we know that heaven is there and hell is somewhere. Hopefully we don't have to go there. It's no use. It's just like you know Jokowi. I also know Paula Abdul, but I never met her, right? Or somebody, knows about, when we talk about politics, people get passionate, especially when they talk about, what's his name? Donald Trump, right? People so passionate about his view, as if like they know him, as if like they sat down with him. Knowing is not enough, I have to say. You need to let your life and your heart instructed by God. That's first. Second, just like David prayed, he prays to God. And this is a brave prayer, I have to say. A challenge to all of us to pray like how David prayed. He said, test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me. So second thing that I want us to see is pray to God to test you, to open your life so that our life is exposed before him. And this is something very difficult because we do not want our dirty laundry be exposed to everybody else, to anyone else, not even to your wife, to your husband, to your kids, to your friends. You want to keep your dirty laundry kept just for yourself, to be self-pity about your situation, to be self-pity about your condition right now. David wants to improve his life. He said, maybe he just had an experience with his sin with Bathsheba. Maybe he just murdered someone. Maybe he doesn't want that to happen anymore. That's why he prays to the Lord, Lord, test me and teach my anxious thoughts. This is very relevant to our life today. I mentioned last time before, when I grew up, I only know the word stress when you are anxious. But now we have like words after words that describe anxiety, like anxious, depression, mental illness. Before, we only know about stress. But this text shows us, but David also have anxious heart. He has anxious thought. And the only way to overcome our anxious thought is through God come and search and teach us how to overcome these anxious thoughts. And we need to confess what we need and who we are to God. But a lot of us prefer to live in the dark. Just like our health, right? People nowadays, we are encouraged to do a medical check after you reach certain ages. I think when you are 40, you need to do this. If you are 50, you need to do this. If you are 60, you need to do this. 70, you this. 80, I don't know what to do else. But some of us prefer not to do it, because we prefer not to know about our health. And sometimes we're tossing up between, is it better to know or better not to know? Is it better to know that you have cancer? Is it better to know that you have high blood pressure? Is it better to know that you have gout or heart condition or cholesterol? And then you'll be able to fix the situation? Or is it better for you not to know and just live whatever you want to live? It is a tough decision. It is true. It is a tough decision. ignorance is bliss, some people say. But if you be ignorant with your spiritual life, it can be really, really dangerous because it involves eternity. It involves everlasting. Eternity is at stake if we ignore our spiritual health. David says that check our life. Let God check our life. And we also check our life. What need to be addressed? What actions that we need to do, to be done. Let God know our anxious thought. Open our thoughts so He can see our anxious thought. That He can investigate our anxious thought. If you are facing anxiety or depression at this time, or if you're wondering about what your life and your purpose and what should you do, just like Department of Health in Australia, you can call a helpline. You can call God. You can pray. You can read the Bible. You can come to church, be part of a church, be part of a mission. Ask God to come into your life. When I was young, I did not grow up in a Christian family. So I just grew up, just grow up, We just grow up, from a baby. My mother fed me a bowl of rice and a couple of glasses of water. And I just grew. But there is just like, what's in my life for? It's something missing. There is no purpose. It's just like a routine. So at the end, I was becoming exhausted with my own life, even though there is nothing in my life. That's sad, right? But I'm glad that Jesus, God, searched each one of us. He searched me. He searched each one of us here. And then we need to do what David did at the end of the reading today, is to allow God to know us, is to allow God to test us, to allow God to know our anxious thoughts, to see if there is any offensive way in me, to see if there is any sin in us. We need to do this. And in this current culture, we like to cover up sin with some sugar-coated word. There is a new word for complaining or grumbling, which is called venting, right? Now we call venting. It doesn't sound as sinful as grumbling and complaining. What could be faulted for just letting off some steam, right? Or a new word for not having self-control, compulsive. That sounds neutral. What's the problem with being compelled about something? But it's self-control. The sins of worrying and fretting are renamed as being stress, depression, anxiety. Because if you talk about stress, and if you talk about in physics term, if you imagine a bridge, if being too much weight put on top of the bridge, what will happen to that bridge? Will become stress in physics term. Stress, and then if it's becoming too much, it will fracture. But if we're putting words like that, we will put the stress situation on how much weight is being put on the bridge. Not building your bridge up to make it strong in faith. Enslaving yourself to a sin become addiction. Addiction sounds better, right? Than slave yourself to a sin. And instead of fornicating, people say living together. Living together. What's wrong with that? You're basically living in together. So this kind of way of thinking slowly deceives us into thinking that our sin is not really a sin. And all of these experts around us are making sin sounds non-sinful. But David, he says, God, correct me, test me, know my thought. So if there is any offensive way in me, get rid of it. Because in the few verses that we read before, David knows that God will slay the wicked. Again, the word slay being misinterpreted right now in the younger generations. When my kids at home say, slay, what does that mean? That's awesome. That's wonderful. But slay means slay. That God doesn't like the wicked. The wicked, again, in the original word, means godless, ungodly. David knows that God eventually will slay the ungodly. That eventually God will push away all of the ungodly people. That at the end of the day, those who rebel against God will be put on a separate place. That's why it's leading us to the last things that I want us to learn from today is lead me in the way everlasting. David prayed to God to lead him in this life and beyond. Everlasting, eternal. You know, the word everlasting means always. And lead me always. Always doesn't have an end, right? I hope my English is correct. Does always has an end? No, good, thank you. Always doesn't have an end. Everlasting. And always means starts now. Lead me in the now and always. Lead me in the way everlasting. That's what David is praying for. That he wants God to lead him in this life and beyond. I don't know whether you heard about this story or not about life beyond. This story was written by a Dutch Catholic priest. His name was Henry Nouwen. He passed away already. He was a professor, he was a writer, he was a theologian. So he taught in Yale Divinity School and Harvard Divinity School. A very reputable schools indeed. From his book titles Our Greatest Gift. You probably read this story from social media because I think it's being around a little bit. It's a story about in the mother's womb where two babies were talking to each other. So imagine in mother's womb where the mom is pregnant with two twins. Do you say two twins or one twin? Two babies. It's better. Two babies. A pair of twins. Okay. With S? Twins? Okay. A pair of twins or two babies. One day, one baby said to the other, after a few days in the tummy, the baby said, "Do you believe in life after this?" And the other says, "Yeah, of course. There has to be something outside this dark place." But then the other baby said, "I don't believe it. I think it's nonsense. I think there's no life after this fluidy, dark place. We're pretty much comfortable here anyway. Why would you want another place out here?" And then as weeks goes along, months gone along, the other baby, and then the one baby said to the other baby again, the same baby, she said, "There could be more light. Here is too dark." The other baby said, "We're comfortable, live in the dark, just like mushroom, right? We flourish in the dark." And then the other baby said, oh, maybe we will walk with our legs. The other baby said, nonsense. We just float in this, swim in this valley. And the other baby said, then why our legs are created? Why is it for? Maybe one day we'll eat from our mouth. And the other baby says, that also doesn't make sense. We eat from what we call scientifically umbilical cord. This is just for decoration. And then they go on, and after that, one day the other baby said, do you think we will see our parents? And the other baby said, there are no parents. What are you talking about? And then the other baby said, you know, sometimes I can feel someone. When I laying down in here, I can hear her voice, his voice, spokely to us. You know, sometimes we think that our life is what we know now. I'm not talking about, that far ahead. But even now, sometimes we think that the life that we know is the life that it is. But David teaches us that we are in the way to everlasting, to something that's everlasting, to something that's eternal. And we need God to lead us. We need God to lead this life. Otherwise, your life will be just this, empty. You're chasing the wrong thing. It's good to have a dream, I want to be a doctor, I want to be this, I want to be that. Of course it's good. But if you don't find God's purpose in your life, our dream sometimes can backfire in our life. So I want to challenge everyone here to dare to pray like David prayed. Not only we pray for the blessing that God gave us, not only for pray to bless our food, bless our day, bless our kids, bless our life. You can't pray like that, but David want to challenge every one of us here to pray to the Lord to allow God to interfere into our life. We pray for God to come and search us, to know our heart, to test us, to teach our anxious thought. And if there is any offensive way or sin in our life, let Him fix it. We can't fix our own sin. We cannot fix our own anxious thought. The best person to fix us is the one who created us.